there, and I'm afraid it's been a kind of case of long time no video on this channel, isn't it? So what I thought is, seeing it's the beginning of a new quarter, I'd do a little cheapest EVs you can get on the Motability Scheme video. So this is basically the first quarter of 2022, so it is covering the dates. I think it is between the 1st of January, I think it's March, 1st of March, I think it's the 1st of March, but we'll see. Right, so let's just have a look and see what we can find on here. So we've got a few categories. We want, most people on the scheme will want something with a sizable boot to put a mobility scooter or something into it. Others may not, others may just need something small and economical. When we see economical here, less kilowatt hours per mile type of economy we're talking about. So we'll just go through the 31st of March 2022. So it's from the 1st of January to 31st of March 2022, it says on here. Gee, I hope this is capturing the screen. It says it is. Yeah. So the first one we have is the DS3 Crossback. Now this one's got a 50 kilowatt hour battery. It's nil advance payment. And the platform that it's built on is shared with Peugeot and Vauxhall, I believe, and Citroën. Now they've all got basically this same basic car with a different kind of body on top, and they're all sharing the same 50 kilowatt battery. So all of these cars get around 200 miles of charge at the most. So you can, from a 0% advance payment on the scheme, you can get one of those basic trim, which I'm going to put this, I'm going to write a little list as I'm doing this. I think it'll get to the piece of paper. So nil advance payment, so DS3 3 EV, nil advance payment, and goes around 200 miles per charge. So we'll put that one on the list. I'm going to do like a top 3 or 4 out of this. Looking further down the list, we've got the Fiat 500 electric. Now I know this one's got pretty poor range. I brought up a kilometres to miles thing here because for some strange reason the Motability people who are UK have put how far these cars can go in kilometres per charge. Figure that one out. So let's just bring up that, have a look. Very poor range, I think this one. It's only got a 24 kilowatt battery, which is no better than the old Nissan Leaf used to have. 185 kilometres per charge, so let's put that in here. 185, 114 miles. So I would say the Fiat 500 on this scheme, avoid, don't even bother. Moving further down the list, we have the 39 kilowatt hour version of the Corner electric. Now again, I would avoid this one. Let's just have a look. It does 3 to 5 kilometres, so it might be kind of in the same area as the DS3. So let's have a look. What was it again? 3 or 5 kilometres. 3 or 5. 189 miles, so slightly less than say a DS3 or a Mokka E. Again, it's the basic trim, so I think you still get adaptive cruise control and some driver assist things in it, but you know, I wouldn't have touched that. I wouldn't touch the Mazda MX-30 because that's got such poor range on it as well. Let's have a quick look. Might have a decent sized boot, but I'll pick it over the Fiat 500 probably, but 200 kilometres, so you put this in here, how many miles maximum can you get charge? 124 miles. Avoid. So at the moment basically the DS3 is the only one I would go for. So that's the only one I've still got on my list, I believe. Yep, put this out of here. Yep. Right, we go further down. We've got the Nissan Leaf. That's just not cutting the mustard anymore. It can only do about 150 miles a charge. Next one to look at. Now this would be for people who have less need of space. They don't need a giant boot for a Motability scooter or something. That would be the Renault Zoe. the R135 50 kilowatt hour one. Now, I'm not sure if the Zoe comes with adaptive cruise control. That's the thing I really like to have in my next vehicle, is adaptive cruise control. But it does have a lot of the other things, just a lot normal cruise control, you know, manual and all that. But yeah, I want the robots to do most of the hard work for me these days. So what was it on there? It said it was 385 kilometers per charge, which is yeah, 239 miles. So what I shall do here is I shall put the Zoe. Now, because this is Motability, you're going to want something with more room in most cases than a Zoe, so I think I'll put it as number 2 on the list, even though it does allow you to travel further per charge. So we'll go Zoe R135, and it's 0 upfront cost, and there's, what was it, 239 miles per charge. 239 miles. 239. I can type properly. Right, so that is now number 2 on the list. Right, Smart 44. Don't even bother touching a Smart. They don't even give you 100 miles per charge. I think it's something like 70 or 80. So Smart 44, Smart 42. Don't even give them a moment's thought. And you're not going to have anywhere to put all your Motability devices in the boot. Right, next item. Next page. We're moving on to the e-Corsa. Now this, the e-Corsas you can get at no upfront cost, would probably be an equal to the Zoe, but I just don't think they go as far. Let me just have a look here. No, I think they do roughly about 250 miles per charge, so I don't think they go quite as far as a Zoe. No, Zoe only does 239 miles. They're going to be kind of in the same area, so it's just going to be personal choice, brand choice, I think, out of them two. Would you prefer to be knocking around in a Vauxhall or a Renault 623s, as far as I'm concerned? Right, so there's all the Corsas. Lots of various models on no upfront cost. Right, next we've got the Vauxhall Mokka-e, which is basically a DS3 with a different body on. So it's got roughly, don't we see that? Roughly the same sort of figures. So what I shall do is I'll put O next to the DS3 Mokka-e. There are two trim levels. There's a premium and an SRI premium. There's a NAV premium and an SRI premium you can get at no upfront cost. Now I know there are others where you have to pay money, so I guess there's more. You pay more money for more toys, different trim. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll put the Mokka-e there anyway. It does around 200 miles. Right. Volkswagen e-Up. Now, I think this doesn't have very good range on it. 259 kilometers, 160 miles per charge. You're going to probably want to go for a Corsa E or a Renault Zoe still, so we'll leave that one off the list. Now we're starting to get into where you have to pay a bit extra. You've got a Mokka-e trim, and you pay £49 for it. It's called the Elite Premium. Don't know, maybe you get leather seats or something. There is an Ionic, basic Ionic. The problem with these is they're dead low, so most people who have mobility issues are going to have problems getting in and out of these cars. That's why a lot of mobility people get SUVs now, easier to get in and out of. So the Ionic, probably a good car if you weren't a mobility user, maybe, because it's, even though it doesn't have as much range, or I do know it's quite efficient, so you won't be using as much electricity, which really electricity prices are going up now as well. you won't be using as much electricity to go as far in an Ioniq, because it's got like a, what's it got? A 38 kilowatt hour battery, but can still do 311 kilometres on it. Now there are other people out there who will tell you how much the watt per mile charge is and what it is, watt hours per mile and things are on an electric car, but that's 193 miles, so honestly I wouldn't touch it, not on this scheme anyway. They got the more premium version of the 39 kilowatt hour of the Hyundai Kona. You're going to get adaptive cruise control, a few other toys in that, but still it's about 160 miles, 170 miles I think it was per charge, that one. Better better trim mockers. Yeah. And then you've got the mini electric. Now I don't know why anyone would get this on the screen, on the scheme. The main problem with the mini electric is 234 kilometres per charge. 234. Less than 150 miles a charge. So, and it's not got much space in it, so I can't see any point of getting one of them on the scheme. You just got to be, these type of vehicles on the scheme are for people who are buying more the brand than the car they need, in my eyes. Right, next page. The one I've always wanted, a Mini. There's a BMW in that one here as well. It's like people who just always wanted a BMW. Didn't want a car to help them get around. You got bigger trims of the Fiat 500, but I think that's just such a poor EV, that one, to tell the truth. It's got a bigger battery, so it does 300 kilometres on charge, this one. 186 miles, but you're paying how much up front? 295. I wouldn't touch it. Again, there's another Zoe here, probably better trim, more toys inside. Other Zoes, there's another mocker. We move on. And now we move on to what is probably looking like the one I'll be getting next, I think. It's probably the best deal on there at the moment. Now whether this deal's going to be there in a year or so, I don't know, because it changes every 3-4 months. But it is the 64 kilowatt hour Kona electric. Now unlike the 39 kilowatt, 4 kilowatt hour, whatever it was, I think it was 39, this one's got probably one of the best range, distances you can go per charge of any of the budget price EVs at the moment. Now it is a big leap up front, it's $599 up front, but for that you will get a vehicle with a decent sized boot that can do 484 kilometres per charge, which is about 300 miles. So that is why I am going to put this in at the top of my list here, even above the ones that have no upfront charge, because this has something that is worth paying the extra for. A really big battery that takes you a really long way. So let's just have a look here. Kona, 64 kilowatt hour, and it's $599 up front, and it gets you, what was it, exactly, just say spot on 300 miles. 300 miles. There you go. So, moving on, we have the e-Niro, Kia e-Niro, but it's only the 39 kilo. See, what Kia are doing here is the e-Niro and the Kona are built on the same platform, the shared between the two companies, and they've got the 39 kilowatt battery that's in the cheaper Konas in this e-Niro 39 kilowatt hour, built on basically the same floor pan and that, and they want $599 for it. So again, you got to ask yourself, do you go to pay all that money just because you want to drive around in a Niro and not have the range, or will you just go for the Hyundai Kona and have the bigger battery, bigger range, and still a decent amount of space inside? No, so I'm going to keep that one off the list. Even things like the bigger battery Leaf, they just don't cut the mustard now, I'm afraid. Not when you've got this 64 kilowatt hour Kona available. Yep, only does 270 miles per charge. That's a 60 kilo, I think, is it 60 kilowatt hour? What did we say there? 270 miles. Oh no, it's still the 100 kilowatt hour one. 40 kilowatt hour one. Sorry, yeah, 270. So it's not even the bigger battery one, that. I think it just must have the leather interior nut, but that's not worth paying £600 extra for, I'm afraid. Right, we just got more expensive versions of the MX-30, the Fiat 500, we got another Hyundai Ioniq there. We've now got another car which possibly could become good value in future, because I remember the first one with the smaller battery, about a year or so ago, it was available for free on the scheme. And that, what we're talking about here is the MG ZS Electric. They've just brought out a bigger battery version of it, which doesn't go as far as the Hyundai Kona at the moment. Let's just have a look at the mileage on it. Does 440 kilometers per charge, so if we put that in, 440, 273 miles, so it's not quite as, doesn't get you quite as far as the Kona Electric. But if maybe in a year or so, they offer this on the scheme at no upfront cost, or less than £600 upfront cost, like the Kona Electric 64 kilowatt hour is at the moment, this might be a good option, because it is a slightly bigger car, it's got a bigger boot, and you still get all the fancy tech like adaptive cruise control, driver assist, a lot of that sort of stuff. So what we'll do with this, because it is basically something to keep an eye on, is I shall put this at the bottom of the list for now. Not something I would recommend getting just now unless you're desperate for one, because I still think the Kona 64 kilowatt hour is a far better deal. But we shall put it in number 4. MG ZS, ZS EV, let's put ZS. So they're wanting $899 for that. Not dollars, pounds, Cliff. And what was it we said? It does 273 miles per charge. 273 miles. So that goes on the bottom of the list just for now. Right, we've also got Citroen's one that's built on the same platform as the Mach-E and the DS whatever. We've got Peugeot's one, the E208. Again, they're all going to do about 200 miles, offer the same sort of room as a Mach-E or a DS3, and you can get the Mach-E or DS3 for no upfront cost. So just don't bother unless you really want to pay that much extra money just so you're driving around with the same car basically with a Peugeot or a Citroen badge on it. And again, we've got, if you want to drive around with something that isn't as useful for you but has a BMW badge on it, we have the i3. And I don't think they even give the mileage on this the last time I looked at it. No, it's not going to be as far, it's less than 200 miles range on it. So you've got to be really desperate to show off to people saying you've got a BMW with that. Which personally, it's not something that I get a car for doing. I get a car because it's a tool. Right, what we also have here is the upmarket trim version of the favourite one on the list so far, the ultimate version of the 64 kilowatt hour Kona. Now the difference with this one is it's got, because it's the one I've got my eye on at the moment, I know this, it has heads up display, leather seats, electric sunroof, and basically a lot more toys. So if you want the upmarket version of it, $1,099 you're going to have to pay. Now what I'm going to do now, because most of the next vehicles on this I just don't think are worth the money up front, is I'm going to move to specialist vehicles, like bigger size vehicles. And to tell the truth, the best one I can see on here at the moment, now with these you're just going to get about 100 miles, 120 miles out of a charge, because they're using the same batteries as the smaller vehicles in the same manufacturer builds. And first one on the list here is the the Vauxhall Vario E-Life. It's basically a massive van with a 50 kilowatt battery, and so this is good for people who've got massive wheelchairs and things that want to roll in and out up the ramp and everything on the back. This is probably the vehicle for them type of people. So I'll add that to the list. I don't think they even show how many miles it does per charge, but we'll have a look. It's so poor. Just says non-available. Range no kilometres. They've not given a figure yet. I know it's going to be about 100, 120 miles. Maybe lucky if you're closer to 150 on it. But I would say 120 in that one because it's a big chunky vehicle with lots of room. And that's why you would get this one. So we'll add that to the list. It is Vario E. And not more than, we're just going to put the price in because any 1499. But I'm going to skip through all the others because a lot of these just aren't worth the money. Up until we get to the Citroen E-Berlingo. I'm going to put this one above. Call these the specialist vehicles. Special big vehicles. Right. I shall put the E-Berlingo above the Vauxhall because it's basically got the same 50 kilowatt battery in it, I believe. It's still quite large and it's good for wheeling big chunky wheelchairs and enough for ramps up the back. And I think they tell me how many miles it gets or kilometers per charge. 269. So let's just have a look here. 269. It's going to get you about 160, 170 miles of charge. Now remember, these are like if you're constantly doing a 56, so if you're driving around like a loon, it's probably going to be closer to 100 miles of charge. Same as, you know, if you're in a petrol car, if you're taking your time, you're going to get close to the miles per gallon. If you're driving around like a loon, immediately cut that in half because you're using twice as much petrol. That's why people who drive 100 miles an hour up and down the waterways spend twice as much on the fuel. Anyway, what else have we got? I don't think there's anything else worth mentioning in the range because they're all costing you far too much. I mean, you're talking about £2 grand or more on some of these. So even if you want the 60 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf, 62 kilowatt, you have to be £2 grand up front. I mean, what's the point? You might as well take it out of PCP. Actually buy it. Yeah, you got the Vauxhall Campo E-Life, but it's just so much up front that it's just not worth getting. So yeah, I didn't put that other one in. Let's go back a bit. What's on 6? Yeah, Berlingo E. Take that in. E-Berlingo. And it was 1495. And it did 167. 167 miles. So again, the champion for this quarter, and the one I would go for, even though it's no upfront cost, is the Kona 64 kilowatt hour premium. It gives you a 300 mile per charge range, and it's $599 up front. If you don't want to pay the $599 up front and the maximum range isn't really big thing for you, but you still want something quite chunky with a biggish boot, be able to fit a mobility scooter in, that sort of thing, I would go for the DS3. Right, so that's that for this video. Thanks again for watching, and remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye.